Welcome to my first test/demo of the latest version of Tesla's Autopilot. I'll be engaging Navigate on Autopilot with the settings to mild, which just decides when to actually change lanes based on the relative speed of the lanes. It doesn't affect the aggressiveness of the lane change. It goes from off to mild, average, and Mad Max. Elon Musk jokingly said they had a Los Angeles traffic mode, but that it was too crazy and they had to leave it out. So here it does find merging onto the freeway. This is version 2019.8.5, which now allows unconfirmed lane changes under Nav on Autopilot. Previously, you had to click on the stalk and let it go when it wanted to change lanes. Here, it wants to go to another lane and should be signaling at this point, but it is deemed unsafe, as you can see by the red. Car slows down and lets us in, so it finally does get over. It does well as long as the gaps are decent size and traffic is flowing relatively constant speed. Do also note that the sun is in the car's eye. So here we're looking at Navigate on Autopilot, which will handle transitions, suggest lane changes based on the speed of the lane you're in. Previously it was bundled with Enhanced Autopilot, which used to cost $5,000. Now it's separated from Standard Autopilot, which just does auto steer and traffic aware cruise control. And then they put this function into the full self-driving package. Of course, full self-driving isn't quite here yet, and might not be for a while. So with 1.5 miles until the freeway transition, Autopilot starts moving us to the correct lane. This is potentially interesting. It moves to the rightmost lane when previously it stayed in this lane, which ends up getting you cut off a lot. See my last video on the subject, you'll see me getting cut off a lot. So we'll scrub ahead until something interesting happens. So this Honda has been signaling for a while, and the car had a chance to let it in, but did not. When the gap got big enough, the Honda did cut in front of me, and the car slowed down quite smoothly. Speeding up a bit. And we have another Honda also getting into this gap. So of interest, this is a spot where I tend to get phantom braking under Autopilot, even without Nav on Autopilot, likely due to the fact that it's a merging area. I usually turn off Autopilot here, so I'm not sure how consistent it has been under 8.3. Well, it didn't brake this time, so hopefully that's an improvement. The car wants to get over one lane where there's a nice looking chrome delete Model S. After some time, it is able to get in. I wonder if they're on AP. There's some evidence in merging areas AP will yield to signaling cars. And now begins the gauntlet. I've got carpool lane stickers, and I've got AP set to use HOV lanes. Let's see how well it does at getting all the way over on the 405 South at the Sepulveda Pass. Now, I usually drive with my right hand on the side of the steering wheel, which provides enough weight to torque the wheel to let the car know that I've got a hand on the wheel. Right now, I've got both hands on the wheel, as this is all kind of new and a little scary. I think my hands are balancing the torque, so the car can't always sense my hands, hence that no hands warning on the screen. One down. Note, the blue flashing is directional to indicate a lane change event. Here's the next lane change attempt. Get a bit of hesitation and wobble. And this is where things start to get bad. AP wants to get one more over with the HOV lane entrance coming up. As it waits for an opening, we're slowing down, opening up a huge gap in front of us. As we speed up to a brisk 13 miles per hour, it initiates a lane change. But chickens out. Right when Chevy pulls in behind me, as my car slows down again trying to change lanes, the Chevy gets a bit close. It finally completes a lane change after about 55 seconds from first attempting it. The Chevy driver was looking at me and shaking his head. Sorry, dude, this was for science. Now all we have to do is wait for the HOV lane to open up. In California, you're not allowed to cross a double yellow line to go in or out of the carpool lane. Apparently, Autopilot does not know this rule. It initiates a lane change across the double yellow line, blinkers and all. I cancel AP as I don't want to get a $300 plus fine. So we'll scrub ahead until it opens up. Right, here we go. It's opened up. Let's reinitiate Autopilot. Now, I didn't notice any hands on the wheel warning, and now I'm in Autopilot jail. When in Autopilot jail, it'll beep until you cancel auto steer and won't let me use auto steer for the remainder of the drive. This sequence took about 12 seconds. That seems shorter than normal. It's been suggested the threshold is lower during the auto lane change. At this point, I'm forced to drive the rest of the way to work using only traffic-aware cruise control, requiring me to manually steer the car like some sort of savage. So let's skip to the horrible drive back home instead. I left work early to avoid the Trump visit traffic. Well, it looks like there were a lot of people who had the same idea. So here we're getting onto the on-ramp, and I'll be starting Autopilot. It handles the first lane change fine out of what is now an exit-only lane. Then it goes to hell. It attempts a lane change slowing down to make a huge gap in front. Part way in, I felt it start to pull back, so I intervened, taking back control of steering. After I passed a truck and manually changed lanes, I restarted Autopilot. It manages to complete the next 2 lane changes okay. And then it attempts to go again while we're next to a bus. This takes way too long, so I go ahead and take over and change 2 lanes over to the carpool lane. Clearly, Tesla needs to add that Los Angeles traffic mode back in. Skipping ahead to where I really should exit the carpool lane, we're less than 2 miles from the exit, and a lot of heavy traffic and 4 lanes to cross. It is not exiting. I mean, you can see the big speed differential. It would require a lot of braking. Well, finally, with about 1.1 miles to the exit, AP decides to start getting over. At this point, it's obvious this isn't happening, so I take over. After a few lanes, I let AP give it a try. Then it took too long, and it took over again. After getting into the correct lane manually, I re-engage autopilot. Let's scrub through the transition until we get lane changes again. Now, as usual, it handles the actual freeway transition fine, which is fairly curvy. I mean, it's really impressive if you think about it. Think back to when autopilot wasn't normal. We've got our first lane change here on the 101. Note there's a motorcycle splitting lanes that has to slow down to let us through. Sorry about that. Splitting lanes is legal, by the way, in California, as long as the speed differential isn't more than 15 miles per hour. Next lane change is smooth. Seems fine as long as the gaps are big and all of the lanes are going about the same speed. So it takes about 7 seconds, and I noted about the same length as the last one. Alright, and here's my exit. Nav on autopilot waited less than a mile until transitioning over to the exit lane. That's quite an improvement. Prior to this, it would get in way early and have to deal with cars merging in from earlier on-ramps. So here's my actual exit. For those new to Nav on autopilot, confirmation on or not, it will automatically take the exit. Then counts down for you to take over, which I do. So thanks for watching my demo of the new unconfirmed lane change navigate on autopilot in software version 2019.8.5. So my conclusion is it is quite an improvement over the initial versions of navigate on autopilot. That said, it still has some room for improvement, which I'm sure it'll get there. Post any questions in the comments section. If you do decide to get a Tesla, you should use a referral code to get 1,000 miles of free supercharging. If you use mine, I'd appreciate it. It's Jose84213.